Queen Victoria spent a significant portion of her reign dodging bullets. While she is often remembered as a mourning widow in a black dress, the reality of her daily life involved surviving 7 separate assassination attempts. In 1842, a man named John Francis stepped out from a crowd in a London park and leveled a pistol directly at the Queen's carriage. Looking at this vintage pistol's firing mechanism, you see where the attempt failed. Francis pulled the trigger, but the complex lock jammed. The Queen survived, and Francis fled into the trees before guards could react. Victoria returned to the palace with a lethal threat still at large in the city, but she had no intention of hiding. Her security detail urged her to stay behind palace walls, yet she decided to ride out again the very next day. She ordered her driver to follow the exact same route through the park. She was intentionally acting as human bait, hoping to draw the shooter out of the crowd. The strategy worked. Francis appeared and fired a second time. He missed, and the plainclothes police Victoria had positioned along the road tackled him immediately. This was not an isolated event. Over the next several decades, people would try to kill the Queen 7 different times. These attacks raise a specific question. Who were these people trying to kill the most powerful woman on Earth, and why were they so unsuccessful? These weren't the actions of professional hitmen or political revolutionaries. Most were desperate amateurs, teenagers, and people looking for a way to become famous. The pattern began in 1840. An 18-year-old bartender named Edward Oxford walked up to the Queen's carriage and fired 2 pistols from point-blank range. He missed both shots and made no effort to run. He simply wanted the attention. Investigators later suspected his guns contained only gunpowder and no actual bullets. Despite her husband's pleas to turn back, Victoria told her driver to continue the ride so she could visit her mother. She refused to let the incident disrupt her schedule. This reaction became the standard for her reign. She believed her presence in the streets was a requirement of the job, regardless of the risk. As the years passed, a different type of attacker emerged. Men driven by extreme poverty rather than a desire for fame. This cross-section shows the contents of their weapons. Instead of lead, attackers like John William Bean were packing their pistols with harmless paper and tobacco scraps. They didn't want to harm the Queen, they wanted to be arrested. At the time, an attack on the monarch guaranteed a prison bed or a free trip to a penal colony in Australia, which was a step up from their lives on the street. To stop these suicide by police attempts, the government changed the law. They decreed that pointing a weapon at the Queen would now be punished with a public whipping rather than a trip abroad. By removing the social benefits of the crime, the state successfully discouraged the city's most desperate citizens from using the Queen as a ticket out of poverty. Even as Victoria reached her 50s, the attempts continued, often for increasingly strange reasons. In 1850, Robert Pate, an ex-army officer known for his odd behavior, struck the Queen with a brass-tipped cane. It was the only time she was actually injured, leaving her with a black eye and a permanent scar. Look at these iron fences at Buckingham Palace. In 1872, Arthur O'Connor climbed them with a broken gun, hoping to force the Queen to sign a political petition. He was tackled by her servant, John Brown, before he could reach her. The final attempt in 1882 involved a man named Roderick MacLean, who shot at the Queen's train because she hadn't sent a thank-you note for a poem he had written her. But MacLean didn't simply wait for the police. A group of schoolboys from nearby Eton College saw the shot and immediately beat the gunman with their umbrellas until he was taken away. The Queen's safety no longer rested solely on her guards. Her public image had inspired everyday citizens to fight on her behalf. While these attacks were dangerous, they inadvertently strengthened Victoria's position as a ruler. Each failed assassination attempt triggered a massive surge in her public approval. In an era where other European monarchies were facing revolutions, the British public rallied around their survivor. Whenever she survived, thousands of people would fill the streets to cheer for her. Her refusal to hide meant that every public appearance became a celebration of her resilience and a demonstration of national unity. Victoria treated the threat of death as a hazard of the job. By remaining visible in the streets despite the danger, she transformed the crown from a distant institution into a symbol of personal bravery, ensuring her popularity remained high for over 60 years.